This time when we look at our quadratic equation, we have y equals negative x squared plus 10x minus 23. Okay, so when we look for our axis of symmetry, of course we know that equation already. That equation is x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, now we just need to find the b and the a. So on our equation up here, we know that the b is the second term, so that looks like it's 10. X equals negative 10 over 2a. And this time our a in front of our x is a negative, so it's not just a 1, it's a negative 1. So down the bottom here, we're going to write 2 times negative 1, just like that. Okay, so when we simplify this to find the equation of our line, we get x equals negative 10 divided by negative 2. And of course those negatives cancel each other out. So the equation of our line is x equals 5. So that vertical line that goes through the middle of our parabola is x equals 5. Next we want to look for the vertex. And again, we already know what x equals because axis of symmetry goes through our vertex. So we know x has to equal 5. We just need to figure out what y equals now. So if I just solve this out, y equals negative, okay, don't forget that negative sign. In parentheses, we've got 5. Our x value is 5, so we got 5 squared plus 10 times 5 minus 23. Now if I just simplify all this, 5 squared is 25. And I've got that negative sign out in front. Don't forget about that negative sign. So I got negative 25 plus 50 minus 23. Okay, so when I solve this one, what I'm going to end up with is I'm going to end up with y equals 2. As I simplify that, I get y equals 2. So I know what x is 5, and I know that y is 2, so my vertex must be 5, 2. Alright, and then again, finally, they just want a sketch of what this quadratic equation looks like. Okay, we know that the a value in front is a negative, and when we think negative, we think frown. Okay, so our parabola must be a frown. It must look something like that. We can label the vertex. We know the vertex must be this highest point right there, and we know that that point is 5, 2. We also know the equation of this line that goes through the vertex. It's just x equals 5. That's our axis of symmetry, x equals 5. Okay, so there's another example. Let's go through another one, try and get a little bit tougher as we go along here. Alright, here we go. Let's try this one. In this case, we have y equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 5. And again, we're looking for the axis of symmetry, the vertex, and then a sketch of what this quadratic equation looks like. The axis of symmetry, we use the same equation as we always use to find the equation of that line, and that equation is x equals negative b over 2a. Alright, and so we just find the values. The b value is this negative 12 here. It's a negative 12, so up on top, we're going to put negative 12. Across the bottom, we're going to have 2 times our a value, and in this case, our a is 3. So we just plug that in. And here we got 2 negatives going on here. We've got negative here and a negative here, so they cancel each other out and form a positive. So we just get x equals 12 over 6. Okay, and of course we can reduce that down. We know that 12 divided by 6 is just 2. X equals 2. So there's the equation for our axis of symmetry. Now it's time to find the vertex. We know the x value must be 2. We just have to find the y value. So we substitute that 2 into our quadratic equation to solve for y. So we get y equals 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 5. Now we can just simplify and solve this for y. So we have to do the exponent first, so 2 squared is 4. Y equals 3 times 4 minus 12 times 2 is negative 24, and then plus 5. Or y equals 12 minus 24 plus 5. Okay, so when we simplify all that down, we know that y must be equal to negative 7. Okay, and again, we know our x value and we know our y value now. So our vertex must be 2 comma negative 7. Just like that. As far as sketching this, okay, we want to look to see, is it going to be a happy face or a frown? Okay, and since our a in this case is positive, when things are positive we think happy, so we're just going to draw our smile face, our parabola that opens up. We're going to label the bottom down here our minimum. We're going to label that our vertex, and that vertex is 2 comma negative 7. And then we're going to label our axis of symmetry. And our axis of symmetry is x equals 2, so we just label that on our sketch. Okay, let's try one last example together. Let's do this one. Alright, we'll do this one together and then you're going to have to try some on your own. So this one is y equals x squared minus 3. Okay, this one's a little bit different because you know in our standard form we expect y equals a x squared plus bx plus c, but in this case there is no bx there, there's nothing there. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different. When we look for our axis of symmetry, we still use the same equation as always. X equals negative b over 2a. Alright, so in this case, this one's a little bit different. There is no b term. There is nothing there. So we know that really it's 0. Okay, if there's nothing there, then that means that it must be 0. So x equals negative 0 over 2 times a. The a in this case is just a 1. Okay, it's not written there, but it's assumed. A is 1. So when we try and reduce this or solve it, we get x equals negative 0 over 2. Okay, and of course we know that 0 over 2 is just 0, so x equals 0. Our axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Easy enough. Okay, now we know the x value, we know x equals 0, but we also want to try and find that y value. Okay, so we need to solve for y. So we get y equals 0 squared minus 3. Okay, this one's pretty easy to do in your head. Even I can do this one. So 0 times 0 is, of course, 0. So we get y equals 0 minus 3. And, of course, 0 minus 3 is just negative 3. So now we have an x value, and we have a y value. So we know that our vertex is 0, comma, negative 3. Finally, the sketch. We have to decide, is this going to be a happy face or is this going to be a frown face? And since the a in front here is positive, positive means happy, it's going to be a smiley face. So we just fill in. That's what our parabola looks like. We know that the vertex down here is 0, comma, negative 3. And we know that the line of symmetry, the axis of symmetry, is just x equals 0. That's the equation of this line that splits the parabola in two. So that kind of does it for our examples together. There are 3 more examples in your notes if you want to try and work those ones together, and we'll talk about those tomorrow. I hope everything goes well for you, and if you need anything, of course, you can always just rewind and check out this lesson one more time. Thanks again. Bye.